I see a lot of potential in you. I mean, your kidneys alone are worth probably 6, 7 grand a piece right now. Also, how's your liver? All kinds of things can destroy your potential as a writer. Just cut it right out and leave you in a bathtub full of ice. These are things you're either doing or thinking that make it harder to reach your full potential and achieve the sort of rewards that seldom few writers achieve. So today, let's talk about some things that destroy your potential as a writer. All right, thing number one, not writing first thing in the day. This is going to piss a bunch of people off, but that will drive engagement, and I'm ultimately just a greedy shill trying to get as many views as possible on here, so... Your ability to do creative work is highest at the beginning of the day, when your mind and body are fresh, and it degrades as you expend effort on other things and as time passes. If you want to get the most out of your writing practice, then your writing practice needs to be as close to the first thing you do every day as possible. There's been a lot of social media blather lately about morning routines and these people sharing these elaborate 3-hour things where they do a bunch of different crap. And I think most of that stuff is just BS. The most important part of a morning routine is to get up and get working as soon as possible. Spending half an hour looking at your phone or 3 hours doing cold plunges or saunas or taking 15 different kinds of supplements is just delaying getting to what actually matters. There's probably some value to spending some time before you jump in to sort of plan what you're doing and reflect on what you want to achieve that day and what you want to do in that writing session. That's probably a good idea, but the emphasis should be on getting writing done as early as possible. Next thing, holding back your potential as a writer, refusing to produce bad writing. If there's one thing that's driven the biggest shift in the general thinking patterns of most people in recent times, I think it's a movement and a desire for certainty. We are obsessed with this idea of not wasting effort on potentially uncertain things, and paradoxically, that's causing us to waste a whole bunch of time and achieve far fewer things in the end. The modern emphasis on efficiency is getting misinterpreted as only doing things that are certain to be successful. It is seen as more efficient to wait around or do extra planning than waste time and effort on something that doesn't have a high probability of being successful. I'm not going to write this scene until I'm certain I can make it good. I'm not going to start on my novel until I'm certain that the idea is going to be a bestseller. I'm not going to start writing until I'm certain that I found the best writing app. More time is wasted waiting around for that ideal moment or the optimal solution or the best approach or this amazing plan. People spend more time waiting around doing that stuff than would be wasted in pursuing something that actually doesn't turn out. And the cost of waiting around to do something is the experience that you would have gained had you not waited. You will learn more by producing bad writing than you will from waiting around until you can somehow be good enough to produce good writing. The effort you put in is only a waste if you fail to learn and reflect upon that effort. You'll see a lot of advice out there advising people to wait and not put your story on the page until you're certain that it's good and blah, blah, blah. And I just don't see how that puts you in a better situation. The thing that is going to make you better is getting more experience. So any advice that encourages you to get less experience is bad advice. Yes, if you spend 4 hours every day producing crappy writing and you never go back and figure out why it's crappy or never change anything you're doing, then yeah, you're never going to get better. Gaining experience alone is not enough, but everybody seems to just focus on that. They don't focus on the reflection and the intentional improvement that needs to come along with that. And you can't apply that reflection and the intentional improvement unless you have something to improve. Waiting around until you're ready to start writing or you've learned enough in the hopes of avoiding wasted effort is just as bad, if not worse. Blindly flailing away at something without thought is stupid. Believing that waiting around will eventually make you ready to do something is also stupid. Don't be stupid. We are living in an era where everyone is spending more and more time waiting for something before they do the thing that they want to do. We're so afraid of waste, so afraid of failure, so afraid of starting that we never start and destroy any chance of success. And in the age that we're living in, there are more and more ways to sit around waiting, doing nothing while feeling like you're productive. Watching this video is kind of an example of that. There's a quote I love from Thomas Watson, who's the Watson behind the IBM Watson thing. If you want to increase your rate of success, start by doubling your rate of failure. All right, thing number 3, destroying your writerly potential, focusing on the work instead of the writer. There are 2 big myths surrounding giving and getting critique on writing. The first is that the critique you get on your writing will be this magical panacea that fixes every problem in your story. The second is that in order to give someone valuable critique, you must have some kind of insight to provide critique that is some kind of magical panacea that will illuminate every flaw in their writing. Both of these myths miss the main purpose of critique and the main purpose of everything you do related to your writing practice. Critique and any other part of your writing practice is ultimately about improving the writer, not the writing itself. Yes, critique and editing can be used to polish work for publication, but if you're not at that stage, which 99% of writers aren't, then the point of critique is to make you a better writer, not to make your novel a better novel. This makes it an important learning process for both people involved. If you want to improve as a writer, you should be seeking out and giving critique on other people's writing from day one, arguably. A good novel is just the evidence that someone is a good writer. That good writer lives inside of you. It's your understanding, it's your ability, it's your experience. The value comes from the practitioner, not the result of their practice. Don't focus on producing a good novel. Focus on becoming someone who can produce a good novel. That's where the value is. Everything in your practice, whether it's critique or practicing revision or even just writing, whatever, is designed to increase your value as a practitioner of the writing craft. There's a difference between learning to become that practitioner and executing on your skills as a practitioner. Don't mix those two up. And the last thing that destroys your potential as a writer, having expectations. Were you expecting me to say something else? Stephen Hawking has a great quote about expectations. When one's expectations are reduced to 0, one really appreciates everything one does have. The root of all misery is unmet expectations. If you walk out your door and it's overcast, but you were expecting it to be raining, then you'll be happy. If it's overcast and you were expecting it to be sunny, then you'll be upset. 2 different people in the same situation, but with different expectations and different feelings based on those expectations. The expectations that you walk around with for what you're going to get out of life are a major determinant of how happy you are in life. Now, there's a difference between having no expectations and having negative expectations. I used to think that not expecting a positive outcome requires you to expect a negative outcome. But that's completely different than just not focusing on outcomes in the first place and having no expectations. Having negative expectations will make you cynical and jaded and pessimistic. Having no expectations will allow you to focus on your actions rather than the outcomes that you get from those actions. So many people approach writing with expectations in their mind. I'm going to get published. I'm going to be a bestseller. My novel is going to change the world. But tying your happiness to expectations will stifle your progress more than anything else. I used to think that in order to encourage myself to put effort in, I had to expect and want the thing that I was doing to be successful. But just as often, those expectations are at best a distraction and at worst a source of sabotage. Expectations strip focus away from action. They create undue stress and anxiety, which reduce your ability to perform well. It's so much harder to do things when the stakes are high and the risk is so much greater. It's like if you're a musician and you're just practicing in a room alone, you're probably not feeling as much stress than if you're on stage in front of 10,000 people. The only difference between those two situations is on stage, you're facing expectations. You have to perform because there's a bunch of people expecting you to perform well. Yes, you need goals as a writer. You should have things that you aspire to, but those aspirations should be centered around the actions you take rather than the outcomes those actions produce. You have a high degree of control over how much effort you put into your writing. You have significantly less control over how well it sells or whether other people like it. There's things you can do to influence that, but those things always come back down to the individual efforts that you're making. Finding happiness and success as a writer is less about meeting your expectations as it is about removing them. Focus on what you can do, not what you get out of the process. Speaking of getting out of things, we're about to get out of this video because we're at the end of it. Anyway, so there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found the advice in it useful. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.